I'm going to show you 7 different price paths that Bitcoin might take throughout the year 2022, depending on U.S. monetary policy, how it rolls out, how it affects the whole world, in addition to showing you how each of these different options happens to align structurally with Bitcoin's origin lines and general slopes of corrections and pumps. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's start with building a frame of reference for the 7 dwarves here. So I have seven different price paths, and some are grouchy, some are sneezy, some are a roller coaster. I'm pretty sure one of the dwarves is named roller coaster, right? And but before we get into that, let's establish a frame of reference. These origin lines here going, in this direction that you can see, pretty much get the structure of Bitcoin almost to the T, and the master origin line is this guy right here, which has gotten the whole rounded bottom of 2015 or end of 2014 leading in 2015, 2016, the whole first part of the run of 2017. It got the bottom of the capitulation at the beginning of 2019. Coronavirus started accelerating after it broke it. It raced right back up to that line. It's a very important line. That's what these origin lines are. They each have a slightly different meaning, but the most powerful one, if you can put your eyes on it, is this one in the middle. And where is current price? I know it's small, but it's currently floating at it. So this is a pretty monumental point, and that's your frame of reference, at least for this direction here. Now, these other blue lines that I have for a frame of reference, it'll help you see how aggressive the slopes of downturns are, and when it becomes obvious that a downturn is almost over. The slope of this whole downturn right here was this line, and I have simply dragged it from that point, and it maintains its slope, so we can have a frame of reference of, would a major pump up or a bull trap or a lower high, where would it go? Well, that would probably be about the highest it would go, because in Bitcoin's history, that is the least aggressive slope that got the lower highs correct over and over. And you would assume that if Bitcoin were to get over that, that it would be fairly home free, with one exception. Coronavirus got over it and then it dumped, right? And I believe one of the fractals has that built in as well for an option. And this slope right here happens to match 2 different slopes. It matches the bear market of 2018, and it happens to be almost identical to the at least the beginning slope of the bear market of starting out in 2014. So let's go ahead and rock and roll, put that back here from the top. And then I guess what we could do is also take this slope here, make it the same color, move it over, and let's see how that slope aligns with these other two. So it's about the same slope, even though it didn't look like it at the beginning, but it is about the same slope. Therefore, this frame of reference, these 2 lines, it helps you understand the general slope of how Bitcoin slides down, and when it moves out of it, with one exception, coronavirus, it typically starts its next run, okay? And then you'll see that a lot of these options over here and the pink fractals you see within price here, I'll go ahead and move one here, they tend to align with that as well. And while aligning with the origin lines, it's really, really strange how they align with both how they align with both at the same time. It's going to be kind of weird what we're about to see as we pull these different fractals onto the Bitcoin chart. Let's go ahead and take a quick moment before we start dragging these over and see how bad sneezy and grouchy might get for options of Bitcoin price paths. Take a quick moment, flip your phones vertically or get flipped off. I need you to hit the like button so I can continue making content for you. It's going to help out the algo. And now that we're taking a quick hiatus, leave a comment. It also helps out the algo, make it random. Let's see who can come up with the best random comment. The month of February, the winner was whoever wrote soft eggs. For some reason, that made me chuckle. Let's see if we can get better than that. And if you're new, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit the bell and set all alerts, because many of my videos are short-term time frames and are time sensitive, a drop in coming, and allow me to deliver it to you in a time sensitive fashion. Let's dive back into the charts. Follow me on Twitter at 𝘾𝙤𝙣𝙣𝙗 to get frequent updates on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Turn on your camera and microphone and ask me questions directly and live up to 8 times a week. Links to the Discord community within the description section of all my videos. No time to join an online community, but you want exclusive content up and beyond what I offer for free on YouTube? Click the join button below this video, and another video will pop up describing your options to you. All right. Now let's check out these seven dwarves. What I'm first going to start off with are the more bearish cases. However, because Bitcoin did not get a blow off top, I would not expect that these fractals to be the ones that play out. And again, what I've done is it's been roughly 300 days since our top, so I took roughly 300 days to see what that would bring us. There is I guess a nuance or a caveat to that is if monetary policy of the U.S., if tightening, essentially what's happening is, in a nutshell, U.S. monetary policy, regardless, depending on how it plays out, what rolls out and how it affects the country, it's going to affect Bitcoin, right? And so for a nutshell, for people who don't follow that, I don't follow it too much, but in a nutshell, here's what it is. The economy is contracting a little bit. And if you try to essentially tighten monetary policy while you're getting a contraction in the economy, that's pretty scary. Typically inflation, it's better to reel it in once the economy is still going up and you have kind of runaway or increasing inflation as the economy is growing. But to try to reel back inflation while the economy is having a tough time, it's pretty scary. And that's the gist. And then the actions are either to start tightening, which means to contract money supply in the short term, or in a short way, which would be fire on fire, like doubly bad for the economy, or just to allow inflation to keep running until the economy corrects itself and then tighten. And those are the two things floating up in the air. It's really uncertain what will happen. Just a heads up, in these what I'm about to show you, it does embody these it does embody the options for that. So if tightening does happen as the economy is shrinking, this fractal could end up playing out. And just take a look at how this aligns with these origin lines and how it aligns with the slopes. That's why I started off with the frame of reference, the origin lines. Look, it comes down and hits this dotted origin line way down here, all right? And it first, here, I'm going to zoom into this part. Check this out, watch. Look, it comes up first, hits the first one, comes up, hits the second one, right? It tanks past this origin line here, comes back up, gets rejected from it, then and then comes down to this origin line, bounces back up to the next one, bounces up, comes down, right, to this origin line again. Just look how much it respects this stuff. These frames of reference. And so in that case, I would say that would be an option in the event that there is a monetary tightening as the economy's not doing well, and that could end up happening, that fractal. And what that would lead you to is roughly, let's see kind of what price path that would bring us here. That would take you down a wick past 20K. That would take you to about 17K, which, maybe a wick down to something to 14 on a quick wick, like on an hourly basis. But daily closures, not living much life. Only a few days under 20K, and then aggressively comes right back up in the 30s. It doesn't live much time down there. And so if people are saying, oh, it's going to hit under 20K, well, if it does, this is suggesting it's only going to be for a hot minute, and it's coming right back up and basing in the, at least in the mid 20s, coming back up, racing into the 30s, and then leveling out in the mid 20s throughout a lot of the rest of the year. And that's what this fractal would do if it were to play out. So let's get rid of that one and choose another fractal roughly 300 days after the stop. We're about 300 days past the 64K pseudo top here. And let's check this out right there. All right. This would have an alt season in it. Glory hole, then alt season. This would be an interesting case here. Let's align it. All right. Again, this blue line frame of reference. Look how it respects that. Comes up, drops, hits it again, drops, goes sideways, tries to break out, rides this origin line here for quite a while, and then falls back below, tags this origin line, bases off of it, or bases under it, and once it breaks above this origin line here, it pops right up, hits the next frame of reference, and then marches back up. That would be, I really don't see this one happening, but that would take Bitcoin down to 15K. And again, that would be in the event that monetary tightening, U.S. Global or U.S. Monetary policy does stick with plans to tighten as the economy is contracting, and I honestly, I don't know, I just don't see that happening. I might not be quite as bearish for 2022 as a whole as what I had previously been until I did this, started kind of planning for this video and playing around with stuff. All right, now let's say from this fractal, let's say that Bitcoin has put its time in going sideways and putting in lows, right? And now it just needs to contract for a while before the next big run up. That's what this one's suggesting. And what this assumption this fractal would be making is all of this price action here from early 2021 to current is similar to this price action here, which it's about the same point of time, right? It had, a couple major dips, then a second one follow up, and that what we're having right now could be that aggressive dip, also, related to the virus, stimulated by the virus, right? And let's go ahead and take a look at what that would bring us if anything similar were to play out. And again, you wouldn't expect this to play out exactly, but if this is the general landscape of what's about to happen, this, could give you a rough estimate of what's going to go on. And let's just check out how it aligns with these frames of reference here. Watch. Origin lines and all that stuff. Let's actually, maybe stretch that out just a tiny bit. That's what she said. Let's go something like this. Bring it into November, because if there were really an alt season in a big parabolic move, I would guess it would happen a little bit later in the year, not quite October. But anyway, here we go. So let's just take a look at how this aligns with these frames of reference. In this case, it wants to hug the master origin line, which I told you about earlier, right? It wants to hug it, stay above, pings off the first frame of reference, comes back, hits the origin line again, plays down, it gets stuck in a triangle of this frame of reference with the origin line, and this brings us through April, okay? Then breaks sideways through it, uses that blue line frame of reference or the slope of a general dip as support, okay? Has another pump, comes back down, and then starts really taking off. That would be pretty tricky stuff. That would be quite a roller coaster. I lived through this and was dealing with altcoins, mostly Bitcoin and ETH at that time. I was mostly trading ETH and Bitcoin during that choppy market. But I mean, if something like this were to happen, you're having another 200 days of sideways choppy stuff in which really the major way to make money and lock in gains is to trade short-term timeframes and to lock in profit a lot for the next 200 days. If something similar were to play out, that's what this would indicate. And again, is that exactly what will happen? I'm not saying that. Rather, we're trying to get an idea of how Bitcoin has moved. Now, these guesses up here are essentially my guesses on how this could play out by looking at origin lines in these frames of reference. All right, let's check this out. And this guess that I drew this out, this sloping line, or the slope, is going to continue to be resistance until you have a capitulation, which is potentially aligning with U.S. monetary tightening. Bitcoin dips below 20K, hits this origin line down here just like coronavirus did. It's the same origin line, and then makes a fairly aggressive comeback to get back to the master origin line, just like coronavirus did, right? And then gets above this and then starts consolidating under previous all-time highs, but it consolidates for quite a while, and then you have a type of alt season, and then Bitcoin finally hits in the 130Ks. But you have essentially a glory hole situation, and then a race back up to the master origin line, about 150 days of consolidation under previous all-time highs, and then you have your nice breakout by the end of the year, and that's what that fractal brings you. That would be pretty tricky as well. And let's go ahead and take another one here. This one instills more of a coronavirus fake out above your sloped line. Let's say that you get a real big bull trap, goes above this sloped line, comes right back down to 27K, makes a new low, but it uses this slope as support, then works its way back up to fairly aggressively get back up to the master origin line, and then has another dip before the end of the year, and then Bitcoin just squeaks out 100K by the end of the year. that would be honestly incredibly tough to trade. And there would probably be no altcoin season in that event. Altcoins would probably get destroyed most of the time. Now, would they have nice pumps as Bitcoin is, making these events? Yeah. But it's not like buying and holding altcoins for a year or even a few months. This is, getting it at key levels and taking profits at key levels. If anything like this were to happen, you can't just blindly buy shit like we were back in February and hold on to it. That's not what this would bring you. That would not be a strategy. All right. For that case. All right. Another one. In this event, Bitcoin comes up and creates a macro lower high at the higher frame of reference slope, comes back down to use the bottom one as support, races back up to the master origin line, which is very, very highly expected. And I think that's kind of the centerpiece of most of the fractals, including the previous fractals. They all, they come back up to that master origin line. They just all do. And the only time it's gone below the master origin line, that's exactly what Bitcoin did. I would fully expect that for that to repeat itself should Bitcoin break significantly below it, right? And then what happens here once it gets above the master origin line? Well, that brings it to all-time highs. It's already in the 60Ks again, and then gets above all-time highs, uses as support, and goes on a run at the end of the year. And that could be your quick altcoin season. But during most of this time, I think altcoins would bleed fairly heavily, at least until May. Right? Now, could you just hold on for dear life from May on in this event? For altcoins, yeah, potentially. But it would still be pretty tricky. A lot of time, look how much of this would be boring. Just choppy stuff, right? Hundreds of days. It's not just straight up. The straight up stuff only will last for a few months, I'm telling you. Unless it's 2016, 2017, which I really don't know if that will ever happen again. Now, here is your roller coaster. In a nutshell, this one indicates Bitcoin can just go like this, essentially. Just make slightly higher high after slightly higher high after slightly higher high, just like Luna, essentially like Luna's chart. But barely making all-time highs, essentially following this origin line up here, and even using lower down origin lines. But because more time has passed and they're ascending lines, it makes higher highs. But on the origin line chart, it's hitting lower points. So it almost hit this line on that one. It barely got above this line on the next one. Barely got above this line on the next one, and stays under that line on the fourth. But each time it is a higher. This is a 73K top, and this is a 100K top. And this would be just 4 waves, 2 in 2021 and 2 in 2022. Almost a freaking repeat of this. I think that is a very feasible thing to happen. Now, do I think that would be my top choice? No. But you don't see many people talking about that. Why can't it be something similar to a copy and paste of what just happened? And it just moves like this. Barely squeaks out higher highs. It could easily happen. It doesn't have to move like Bitcoin did in the past. It absolutely doesn't. And in that event, with U.S. monetary policy, I'm not for sure what that would bring, but maybe monetary policy... they just keep printing and don't tighten. Then mid-year, somewhere around June, summer, they decide to tighten. It spooks the market, and then once the Fed sees the market spooked, they say, "Oh, we won't do it quite to the degree we're thinking." Just kind of flip flopping, and then the markets kind of follow, and that's what Bitcoin does. And so this one would be in the event that there is some flip floppy decision making with U.S. monetary policy, but the flip flop happens. Relatively in a fairly logical way to see how the economy reacts to monetary policy. Then they pull back or make a change. This would be kind of like flying by the seat of their pants, the Fed. But that could happen for Bitcoin. It's kind of that would be that dwarf would be the roller coaster dwarf. We would probably actually have to make an eighth dwarf and name it Roller Coasty or something like that. Hopefully if you like what you saw, leave me a quick comment down below. Let me know your thoughts and which scenario best fits your preconceived notions and what your expectations are for Bitcoin. If you want to see my origin wave theory, a different type of more solidified theory on how 2022 is going to go, click this video right here. And if you missed my previous Bitcoin analysis, click this video right here. And if you're new to my channel, click the circle in the middle to subscribe. You just got Timified Worldwide. Peace.